Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Bhupender Yadav, President of the World Bank, Mr. David Malpass, Co-Chairman of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates, Executive Director of UN Environment Program, Ms. Inga Anderson, Administrator of UN Development Program, Mr. Akin Stenner, author of the Nobel Prize-winning Nudge Theory, Professor Cass Sunstein, international climate economist, Lord Nicholas Stern, President of World Resources Institute, Mr. Annie Dasgupta, and all the citizens and the youth who are joining us from across the world for this webcast live on the occasion of the World Environment Day. It is our pleasure to welcome you on this very important day for humanity. We all have a collective responsibility towards our planet. As envisioned by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, there is need to have a symbiotic relationship with our environment and our nature. This is reflected across numerous initiatives which the country has taken under his leadership. India has not just acted to mitigate climate change, but has displayed strong commitment and leadership for a sustainable planet, one where our actions are measured vis-a-vis their impact on the environment. However, we must realize that just as people are responsible for climate change, it is the people who can solve it. We may talk about nations taking action as part of their climate goals, but ultimately it is people and their individual actions which have a huge impact. The Prime Minister has given us a vision of embracing a lifestyle for environment that is life. He has highlighted this on numerous platforms, including at COP26. It is Prime Minister Modi's belief that unless we change individual behavior, we cannot combat climate change. We may keep thinking about long-term goals, but we need to change our lifestyles in the short term. This is crucial. We now have a short perspective on the Prime Minister's vision for life, which we would like our global audience to view.
Earth is our home. It is 4.5 billion years old and the only home we have. We are only one among 8.7 million species. And over the centuries, we have changed our planet. We have made great strides in science and technology. We have comfortable lives. But all of this has come at a cost. Our actions are harming the planet. They're changing the climate, destroying ecosystems, and killing living beings. Wildlife populations have declined by 68% since 1970. Air, land, and water, we have used every natural resource and left it either polluted or extinct. Microplastics are now found from the deepest oceans to the highest peaks. If we do not reduce our plastic consumption drastically, it is estimated that by 2050 there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Things are at the tipping point. Every choice that we make, every action that we take, echoes in the natural world long after we are gone. Today we stand at a juncture that was chosen for us by those who came before us. This is a critical time in the history of our planet, and we must make the right choices. India has always inspired the world with innovative solutions to complex problems. Sustainability is embedded in the Indian way of life, in our tradition and culture. From an ambitious net zero by 2030 target for Indian Railways, the fourth largest railway network in the world, to the world's largest affordable LED for all initiative, to transforming lives of millions of women by providing fuel gas for cooking and heating, to decarbonization through green hydrogen, India is spearheading the quest for a sustainable planet. Act now. Close that tap. Switch off the engine. Recycle, nurture, grow, heal, breathe. We can resolve the climate crisis. The answer lies with us, in the smallest of decisions that we take every day. Our choices will ripple through time and can heal our planet. We can choose to become pro-planet people.
LIFE यानी लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। आज जरूरत है कि हम सभी लोग एक साथ आकर कलेक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन के साथ लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट यानी लाइफ को एक अभियान की तरह आगे बढ़ाएं। ये एनवायरमेंटल कॉन्शियस लाइफस्टाइल का एक मास मूवमेंट बन सकता है। आज आवश्यकता है माइंडलेस और डिस्ट्रक्टिव कंजम्पशन के बजाय माइंडफुल और डेलिबरेट यूटिलाइजेशन की। पूरी दुनिया में करोड़ों अरबों लोगों के हर रोज की ये चॉइसेस क्लाइमेट चेंज के खिलाफ लड़ाई को हर दिन बिलियन स्टेप्स आगे ले जाएगी।
I would now like to invite, on the occasion of the World Environment Day, the Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of the Government of India, Mr. Bhupender Yadav, to give his opening remarks.
Respected Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and the member of August gathering. It is a great pleasure for me to be a part of the human effort for environment, especially today on the occasion of World Environment Day, amidst such an august audience. The occasion is a solemn reminder that the steps for environment protection are more needed now than ever. This year's World Environment Day theme is Only One Earth, a truth that is well known. Climate change is already impacting people's lives and livelihood. As a country under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, we are committed to follow a growth path that delivers sustainable development. We have made significant strides in every sphere despite our developmental challenges, such as clean energy systems, enhanced energy efficiency, resilient urban infrastructure, innovative and sustainable green transportation networks, and planned afforestation. During the last 8 years, India has witnessed the fastest growth rate in renewable energy capacity addition among all large economies. Today, as the world faces severe environmental crisis, it is crucial that we find ways to combat it not just through modern technologies, but with the wisdom of our collective cultural tradition and knowledge. The need of the hour is urging mindful and deliberate utilization. The present generation has to protect the rich natural treasure for future generation. Achieving sustainable patterns of consumption and production is critical if we are to overcome the planetary crisis of climate change. As we are intimately linked with environment for survival, the world must focus on conserving natural ecosystem. Collective effort are needed to chart a new low-emission path. Most recently, at COP26 in 2021, the Honorable Prime Minister highlighted the importance of individual behavior change for catalyzing climate action as part of the Lifestyle for Environment Life movement. The launch of Life Global Call for Action envisioned to make individual behavior change the center of climate action narrative in the world and make sustainable lifestyle a global mass movement. With these words, I extend my best wishes to all the people worldwide and hope that we can make collective and innovative effort to make our planet cleaner and greener. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I would now like to invite Mr. Bill Gates, co-founder Microsoft and co-chairman Gates Foundation, a humanitarian who's been a keen supporter of environmental and climate causes through his varying initiatives, including the work on Nudge, which his foundation is undertaking in India. He joins us from Seattle.
Thank you, Prime Minister Modi, for inviting me to speak at the launch of this important initiative, Lifestyle for Environment Movement. This is a critical time in the fight against climate change. People all over the world are already being affected by a warmer climate. For example, we have seen impacts like the catastrophic floods and unprecedented heat waves that have struck India and South Asia in recent weeks. In a typical year, the world is still emitting over 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases. Countries like the United States need to take the lead in reducing these emissions and making sure there's technologies that make it easier for all countries to do the same. I'm inspired by India's leadership and efforts to curb the rise in emissions, and I was excited to learn about the LIFE movement and its potential to draw in the full power of collective action. To eliminate greenhouse gases, we need innovative technologies and participation from all. Ensuring that these breakthrough technologies will be widely adopted will require not only large investments and partnerships between the private and public sector, but also demand from individuals. Individual actions will send market signals that encourage governments and businesses to invest in these new climate innovations and create the breakthroughs we need. The demand will ultimately bring down the cost of these technologies, known as the green premium, making clean technologies more affordable and accessible to everyone. I congratulate Prime Minister Modi for taking the lead on this global initiative of citizen action to promote pro-climate behaviors. Together, we can build a green industrial revolution, one that stops climate change, protects vulnerable communities, and puts the world on a path to progress. The necessity for collective global action to address climate change has never been greater, and India's role and leadership are crucial in assuring we reach our climate goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Gates. I now welcome Professor Cass Sunstein, author of the Nobel Prize-winning Nudge Theory, and Robert Walmsley, Professor of Behavioral Science at Harvard University. His research in the field of individual and social behavior change has been globally acknowledged. He joins us from Boston.
Hello, it is a great honor to be with you today to celebrate the launch of the Lifestyle for the Environment movement. India and the Prime Minister have been world leaders with respect to environmental protection and climate change and human behavior. And many of us all over the world are looking to India for inspiration and ideas. To celebrate the launch, I'd like to speak a little bit about a framework which India has been using and which is being used all over the world for behavior change in connection with the environment and climate. It's called the EAST framework. It is an acronym, EAST. The E stands for easy, and the basic idea is if the goal is to help individuals or households or companies to choose an environmentally preferable approach, to make it easy is often the best thing to do. The A is for attractive. If we have spirited colors, if we have fonts and appearances that are attractive to people, then we're more likely to see behavior change. India and other nations have often used attractiveness as a signal to promote environmentally preferable choices. S stands for social. If we know the social norm is in favor of environmentally better behavior, or if we know people are increasingly engaged in environmentally preferable behavior, we will see more of it. It creates a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Norms are essential for improving lifestyle. The T in the East framework is for timely. If people are given information or a reminder or a signal at exactly the right time when they're making the decision, or maybe the hour before, it's more likely to be effective. That's the East framework. I'd like to add one letter to the framework. The letter is F, so we have a new acronym, FEAST, and the F is for fun. Often environmentally preferred behavior, better lifestyles, actually are fun. They make people smile. They make them feel they're contributing to their nation. We've seen this in India often in recent years. We've seen it in Europe also, and sometimes in North America. It is really an honor to be able to speak to you on this historic event, and I look forward to seeing new creativity and new initiatives with respect to FEAST. Actually are fun. They make people smile.
Sansad. The UN agencies are playing a leading role in combating climate change at the global level and are playing a key role in governments and institutions embracing environment-friendly solutions. I now call upon Ms. Inga Anderson, Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Programme, to make her statement. She joins us from Stockholm.
We are in the midst of a triple planetary crisis: the crisis of climate change, the crisis of biodiversity loss, and the crisis of pollution and waste. This is a crisis created entirely by decades of relentless and unsustainable consumption and production. Our current consumption patterns require 1.7 Earths to fulfill, but we all know this is not possible because we have only one Earth. How we live and consume matters, and matters greatly. I welcome the launch by the Prime Minister of India of the Lifestyle for the Environment, or LIFE movement, on World Environment Day. Because every person and every country needs to lead for the planet. With more than 1 billion people and home to a thriving generation of innovation and entrepreneurship, India is central to global environmental action. I look forward to following your progress as you launch this hugely important movement, because when India leans in, the world watches and follows. We at UNEP look forward to supporting the government of India and its people in pushing forward on the sustainable consumption and production agenda as India assumes the presidency of the G20 in 2023. Because we can all tread lightly on this planet and live in harmony with nature. Because we have only one Earth.
Ms. Inga Anderson, I would now like to invite the Administrator of the United Nations Development Programme, Akim Steiner, to deliver his remarks on the occasion of the World Environment Day and the global launch of the LIFE movement. He joins us from New York.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great privilege to join His Excellency the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, and other distinguished guests for the launch of the Lifestyle for Environment Global Call for Ideas and Papers on World Environment Day. It takes place as the world came together at Stockholm Plus 50 to celebrate the world's many environmental accomplishments since the year 1972. In those 50 years, the world has concluded over 500 multilateral environmental agreements. Yet we all know we must do better as our natural world continues to be degraded and destroyed while climate change intensifies. The United Nations is working side by side with countries and communities, helping them to decarbonize and restore our natural world while driving forward human development. For instance, through our Climate Promise, UNDP is supporting over 120 countries to enhance and now implement their nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. And countries like India are serving as a kinetic energy behind decisive climate action on the world stage. That includes its work through cutting-edge initiatives such as the International Solar Alliance, the Coalition for Disaster-Resilient Infrastructure, and One Sun, One World, One Grid, which aims for interconnected solar energy infrastructure at a global scale. Last year at COP26 in Glasgow, Prime Minister Modi advanced the idea of lifestyle for environment, or LIFE. It builds upon the idea that individual behavior and action are a key part of our collective climate responsibility. It aims to attract some of the world's very best solutions to drive climate-friendly behavior amongst individuals and communities, from grassroots innovators to academia to international organizations and beyond. As ever, please continue to rely on the support of the United Nations and UNDP as we help to make life a global movement to change the way we live. Like nature, all of us must now be part of a metamorphosis to secure the future of both people and planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ackensteiner. Now let us hear from the institutions which are driving the global discourse on climate change. I would like to invite Mr. Ani Dasgupta, CEO and President of the World Resources Institute, WRI, to deliver his remarks. WRI has helped develop practical solutions to improve people's lives and works to ensure that nature thrives. Mr. Dasgupta joins us from Washington, D.C.
What a wonderful, wonderful occasion. It's a privilege to be part of it. I want to congratulate India and Prime Minister Modi for this exciting launch. And thank you for paving the way for a much-needed global movement, a much-needed global conversation on how we live, how we consume, how we take care of the planet. The science couldn't be clearer. We consume 100 billion tons of raw material every year as a planet today. Only 8.6% of it is circular or turns around. As you heard from Inger, there's not enough planet for us to live the way we live. It's clear circularity, or how we actually consume, how we live, has to be part of the solution. For us to get to from where we are in 2022, to get to 2030 or 2050 goals of the world, every lever of change has to change. That means also very much how we live, how we consume, how we take care of our lives is very important. So I can't overemphasize, Prime Minister, the importance you put to bring people to the movement, our lives to the movement. It doesn't mean consuming less for everyone. Prime Minister very correctly says, it means thoughtful utilizations. It actually might mean consuming more for some. There are 800 million people in the world who don't have standard electric connection. It's thoughtful utilization. For 100 years, I think we have connected success or prosperity with consumption. I see this movement, Prime Minister, as reversing that and valuing taking care of the planet as success and prosperity. I can't overemphasize the importance of India launching this movement. India today is about consumes per capita 1/3 of the global average of consumption or emission. So where the world needs to go is towards where India is, not the other way around. And it's not just emission in India. India and his, ancient societies across the world, due to necessity and due to wisdom, have found ways to live with nature, to thrive nature, to take care of nature. That knowledge needs to be part of our collective knowledge now. We have made for a long time difference between what science is, and we have called it traditional knowledge. There is no gap. This needs to be actually connected together as our collective wisdom, how we can learn from history for multiple generations of knowledge. At WRI, I just want to say, we absolutely hear your call. We have set up a behavioral science unit. You've heard about not just now, how behavior science can help climate change. We absolutely work with Amitabh and his team on multiple things, including training the next generation of 5,000 leaders for your call to get where India needs to get to in Glasgow. I just want to say we absolutely need policy. We need finance. We need innovation, as Bill Gates just said. But what we need more than that, as people, all of us, demanding more, demanding faster, cleaner world, faster change. So I just want to congratulate Prime Minister Modi for your call to change all of us from consumers to stewards of the world. This call could not be more noble or more timely than today. And stand by, I think all of us, especially WRI, to support you in every way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dasgupta. I would now like to invite Lord Nicholas Stern, who's the chairman of the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the head of India Observatory at the London School of Economics. Lord Stern is the global voice on the economics of climate change. I invite you, Lord Stern, to share your views with us.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for the honour of inviting me to be with you on this special day. Your landmark speech in November last year at COP26 in Glasgow set out an inspiring vision for a new path of development for India. It will be the development and growth story of the 21st century, both raising living standards across the whole community and, in your words, saving the future of our future generations. Let us make no mistake, unmanaged or weakly managed climate change would be devastating to the lives and livelihoods of our children and their children. India is actually vulnerable, and India's special position in the world profoundly influences what others do. At the heart of your vision, Prime Minister, is fostering sustainable lifestyles that are in harmony with and enhance the environment, in contrast to the inefficient, dirty and destructive models by the rich countries in the past. The creation of this new path will involve strong investment, innovation and action across the whole economy and society, involving all communities and individuals. We can and must change the way we heat and cool our buildings, how we move around, how we eat, we grow our food, and how we protect and invest in our precious natural capital on which our livelihoods depend. We must act strongly to use and reuse our resources much more efficiently and eliminate waste across the board. Most of this action will happen in households, in private firms and farms. The time for action is now. How can all this come about? Public action can and must enable and incentivize private action. For example, as we encourage more public transport, cycling and walking, we must invest in our towns and cities to make these possible. We must create the investment conditions and local infrastructure that can facilitate household and enterprise investment in solar energy or in precise and sustainable agriculture. I've had the privilege of working on and in India for nearly 50 years, and I've seen firsthand the extraordinary creativity of the people of India, from small village to big city. They can surely realize this vision for a new lifestyle and stronger, sustainable and resilient development. The transition will require substantial investment from agricultural holdings to city metro lines. And the transition must be just to make the great opportunities available to all and to protect the vulnerable. All this requires finance, public and private, internal and external. Our own analyses at the London School of Economics on the necessary external finances for developing countries, majority private finance, are in broad agreement with the 1 trillion per annum you identified in your Glasgow speech. All friends of India must stand ready to support this vital new initiative. Thank you, Prime Minister, for your outstanding leadership.
Thank you, Lord Nicholas Stern. If individuals can make an impact, so can nations. For nations to make impact at a large scale, financing environment-friendly infrastructure projects is of essence, and World Bank is leading from the front. I would now like to invite World Bank President, Mr. David Malpass, to deliver his address. Mr. David Malpass is a distinguished global economist and joins us from New York.
Thank you very much. Honorable Prime Minister Modi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, On the occasion of the World's Environment Day and in honor of Prime Minister Modi's focus on lifestyle for the environment and his call for papers, I'm guided to the ancient texts of India and enlightened by their great respect for the natural world and the environment. The words of the Rig Veda, the Yajurveda, and the Charak Samhita speak of trees removing pollution, of not disturbing the sky, and of the importance of forests to the strength of the state. The Bhagavad Gita also clear when it says, the environment is not ours to take or leave, it is ours to make. We can ask how, and the Gita speaks to our heart with prescience. Let the human community protect the environment for their own survival. In these words, I see a call for action, not inaction. I saw this urgency during my participation with Prime Minister Modi in 2019 at the Civil Service Capacity Building event in Gujarat. Mobilizing and empowering communities around sustainable growth and development is at the core of the World Bank's work and the Prime Minister's call for a movement of the masses against environmentally destructive behavior. I will focus today on the question of what the state can do to mobilize communities at scale for sustainable economic growth and development. To begin with, any mobilization of communities around development issues requires frontline motivators. India's Anganwadi workers who focus on children in rural areas, self-help groups of women mobilized around access to credit, and ASHA health workers. These are examples of frontline workers who are embedded in communities and work at scale. The Poshan program of India owes its success to the frontline workers fighting malnutrition affecting children, adolescent girls, and expectant mothers. Localizing decisions to the community level has been an important part of India's development philosophy. The White Revolution, which changed the dairy industry, was catalyzed by the cooperatives managed by communities. Similarly, the Swachh Bharat sanitation program relied on behavior change and community ownership of the mission. Mass action has been an integral part of its progress. In the context of adaptation to climate change, India faces one of its biggest challenges in the management of water and land. India is one of the most water-stressed countries in the world, with demand projected to nearly double by 2050. Faced with decades of over-exploitation of groundwater, India's Atal Bhujal Yojana is incentivizing communities to collectively take responsibility for groundwater management. Success will require behavior changes in agricultural practices, water conservation, and land preservation. To address the problem of the commons, it offers local decision-making where local administrations and communities jointly take responsibility for better water management, and with the goal of doubling farmers' incomes, improving water use efficiency on a mass scale, and improving cropping patterns. Frontline motivators embedded in communities will be needed to help bring about the many necessary changes in behavior and incentives. Getting prices right remains a vital prerequisite for changing behaviors of communities and strengthening the economy. Farmers will have little incentive to preserve groundwater in states where free electricity, the cost of pumping groundwater close to zero. Other key building blocks for sustainable development will be more correct pricing of diesel fuel, fertilizer, coal, improving fuel efficiency, and shifting transport from road to rail and waterways. Getting institutions right is also a vital prerequisite. Distorted prices cause weak institutions of service delivery and vice versa. Free electricity contributes to financially weak electricity distribution companies, the Discoms. Their weakness leads to greater dependence on state subsidies, inviting weaker governance and management. Weak discoms, in turn, can become the Achilles heel of the government's plan to expand renewable energy. An ineffective DICOM system can't implement the ambitious vision of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy and profitable electric vehicle and battery factories. Alongside community motivators, mobilizing communities around development and climate-related issues will require more effective local governments and local administration. The 15th Finance Commission has, for example, provided fiscal incentives for cities to fight air pollution. But this program assumes the presence of effective urban local governments, or at the very least, urban local administration. To help support change, India has an improved system of cash and non-cash transfers that forms the foundation of a strong social protection system using a unique ID mechanism. Important for today's discussion, using cash transfers to mobilize and incentivize communities around specific development issues allows the state to reduce the reliance on subsidies and artificial prices. Communities facing shocks due to pandemics or climate changes can be supported by targeting specific groups such as farmers and women-headed households. India has also one of the world's largest food distribution systems, which during the peak of COVID provided support to 800 million people. Prime Minister Modi is right that communities have successfully mobilized around development programs and can do more. The state must play its role by leveraging frontline workers and investing in effective and accountable local governments, which are the tier of the state that is closest to the citizens. And vitally important, the state must get pricing policies and institutions right in order to credibly invite communities to participate in development programs as part of a mass movement. After all, we cannot expect to mobilize communities to advocate for public transport when public sector bus companies are inefficient at best, or to farm in a sustainable way when fertilizer subsidies distort behavior, or to conserve water when free electricity tells you to do otherwise. India has a long history of community mobilization that has worked, but also instances when it has not worked. For India to be a global leader in environmental action, it also has to be a global leader in economic development. The Prime Minister is correctly calling for a whole-of-life approach. It makes sense that this will need a whole-of-economy approach, ending poverty, growing the incomes of farmers and ordinary people, properly pricing water, electricity, fertilizer, coal, and oil, and making the right investments in cities. We look forward to supporting this with a whole-of-World Bank approach, combining the full resources and energy of the IBRD, IDA, IC, and MEGA. Today's call for papers offers the opportunity to use scholarly work to understand better how policies and institutions matter in incentivizing and leveraging communities around development issues. Let us not lose this learning opportunity being offered here today by Prime Minister Modi, who said recently that once people are determined to do something together, they do wonderful things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. David Malpass, for your thought-provoking and inspirational words. Now it is my honor to invite the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has conceptualized this life movement, who has displayed true climate leadership, and who has led transformational grassroots level initiatives from the front. From Swachh Bharat Abhiyan to the Namami Gange program, from Ujala to Ujjwala, from faster adoption of electric mobility to green hydrogen, to Give It Up campaign and Save the Rain initiatives. Through his vast path-breaking measures, he has been a great driver of individual and community behavioral change. I request you, sir, to address India and the world on the occasion of the World Environment Day and launch the live global call for action. Honorable Prime Minister, sir.
Namaskar. We just heard the insightful views of Her Excellency Inger Anderson, UNP Global Head. His Excellency Akam Steiner, UNDP Global Head. My friend Mr. David Malpass, President of the World Bank. Lord Nicholas Stern, Mr. Kaz Sunstein, my friend Mr. Bill Gates, Sri Anil Das Gupta, India's Environment Minister, Sri Bhupendra Yadav. I thank them for their views. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Namaste. Today's occasion and the data of the occasion and the date of the occasion both are very relevant. We begin the lifestyle for environment movement. This year's World Environment Day campaign slogan is Only One Earth. And the focus area is living sustainably in harmony with nature. The seriousness and the solution are beautifully covered in these phrases. Friends, our planet's challenges are well known to all of us. The need of the hour is human-centric, collective efforts and robust action that further sustainable development. At the COP26, this last year's summit in Glasgow, I proposed for Mission Life, Lifestyle for Environment. Efforts for such a mission received support from all across the world. I am glad that the resolution of the life movement is being realized today. My gratitude for such a record support. As the name suggests, Mission Life puts individual and collective duty on all of us to do whatever we can for a better planet. The vision of life is to live a lifestyle that is in tune with our planet and does not harm it. And those who live such a lifestyle are called pro-planet people. Mission Life borrows from the past, operates in the present, and focuses on the future. Friends, the secret behind the Earth's long life is the harmony our ancestors maintained with nature. When it comes to tradition, almost all parts of the world have traditions that show a simple and sustainable solution to environmental problems. In Ghana, traditional norms have helped in turtle conservation. In the Serengeti region of the Tanzania, elephants and bushbucks are sacred. Thus, they have suffered less from illegal hunting. The Okpaga and Ogriki trees are special in Ethiopia In Japan, there is furoshiki, which could be a sustainable alternative to plastic. Sweden's Lagom philosophy encourages a balanced life. We in India have equated nature with divinity. Our gods and goddesses have plants and animals associated with them. I have given just a few examples. There are many more such practices. Reduce, reuse, and recycle are the concepts woven in our life. Circular economy has been integral part of our culture and lifestyle. Friend, thanks to our 1.3 billion Indians, we have been able to do many good things for the environment in our country. Our forest cover is increasing, and so is the population of lions, tigers, leopards, elephants, and rhinos. Our commitment to reach 40% of installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel based sources has been achieved 9 years ahead of schedule. About 370 million LED bulbs have been distributed in the last few years. This has contributed to energy saving of about 50 billion units of electricity per year. It has also ensured a reduction of almost 40 million tons of carbon dioxide per year. We have achieved 10% ethanol blending in petrol 5 months ahead of the November 22 target. This is a major accomplishment given the blending was hardly 1.5 in 2013-14 and 5% in 2019-20. This has enhanced India's energy security, reduced crude oil import for more than $5.5 billion. It has also reduced carbon dioxide emissions by 2.7 million tons, and it has increased income of farmers by almost $5.5 billion. Renewable energy is becoming widely popular, and our government has very high focus for development of this sector. Friends, the way ahead is all about innovation and openness. At every level, let us encourage innovators focusing on the sustainable development. Technology can be a great supporter to achieve this. When tradition and technology meet, the vision of life will be taken further. I especially urge those in the academic world, researchers, and our dynamic startups to think about this. Their youthful energy is exactly what the world needs at this crucial time. We should also be open to sharing our best practices with others and learning from the successful practices of others. Mahatma Gandhi talked about a zero carbon lifestyle. In our daily life choices, let us pick the most sustainable options. Let us follow the principle of reuse, reduce, and recycle. Our planet is one, but our efforts have to be many. One earth, many efforts. Friends, India stands ready to support any effort for a better environment and to further global wellness. Our track record speaks for itself. We are proud to have taken the lead in making yoga more popular. Initiatives like the International Solar Alliance, the focus on one sun, one world, one grid, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure are making major contributions. We are glad that the world is supporting these efforts. I am sure that the life movement will further unite us and ensure a secure further for the coming generations. I once again invite the world to be a part of this journey. Together, let us make our planet better. Let us act together. It is time for action. Action for life. Action for lifestyle, for environment. Thank you. Thank you very much.